Welcome back to the Malaysia Money Matters show. It's November 27th, 2024, and we've got a lot to unpack today. We'll be diving into company news and global happenings that could have a real impact on the Malaysian market.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see how these stories connect, the local and the global, the digital and the political. It all weaves together to shape the economic landscape.
Okay, so let's start with the buzz around Malaysia's digital economy. It's projected to hit a massive RM 138.4 billion this year. That's huge. E-commerce and online travel are really driving this growth, which shows how much our habits are changing.
It's a clear sign of where the future is heading. But there is a challenge emerging alongside this digital boom: the rising costs associated with becoming more environmentally friendly. Think of things like renewable energy and sustainable materials. Those costs are increasing, and it's something we call greenflation. This could impact everything from the price of electronics to your weekly grocery bill.
So even though we're embracing the digital world, this greenflation could make things more expensive. It seems counterintuitive.
Exactly. It's a balancing act. However, Malaysia is attracting significant investment in artificial intelligence, particularly in Southeast Asia. Billions are being poured into AI infrastructure and data centers, which could help offset some of those rising costs.
That's a silver lining. So if we can become a leader in AI, that could bring more investment and jobs, right?
Precisely. It's about positioning ourselves strategically in this evolving global landscape. Now let's zoom in on some specific companies that are making headlines. Pharmaniaga, the pharmaceutical company, is reporting a strong profit after a rough patch. They've got big plans for 2025, expanding their product line and forming strategic partnerships.
That's a real turnaround story. It shows that with the right strategy, companies can bounce back even in challenging times.
It's encouraging for sure. On the other hand, YTL Corp, the infrastructure conglomerate, saw their profits dip recently. It seems lower energy prices and some fluctuations in currency exchange rates played a role, particularly impacting their utilities arm YTL Power.
So even established players like YTL are feeling the pressure of these global economic shifts.
Yes, especially companies with international operations like YTL. Speaking of shifts, there's been a significant development in the banking sector. Boustead has sold its entire 20% stake in Affin Bank. This move hands control to a Sarawak state government subsidiary, which could shape things up a bit.
That's a big change. I wonder how this new ownership will impact Affin Bank's strategy and the overall competition in the Malaysian banking landscape.
It's definitely something to watch. The banking sector is constantly evolving, and this move could have a ripple effect. Now, not all companies are riding high. Tan Chong Motor, the distributor of Nissan vehicles, posted their biggest loss in a decade. Lower sales and the impact of a strong U.S. dollar seem to be the main culprits.
That's tough. It highlights how vulnerable companies can be to global economic forces, especially those dealing with imports and exports.
Absolutely. The strengthening U.S. dollar is putting pressure on many businesses here in Malaysia. Now let's move on to a company with a slightly more complex story. Matrix Concepts. Their profits actually rose, but their overall revenue went down.
That sounds a bit confusing. How is that possible?
They benefited from selling some assets which boosted their profits. However, their core property development business had a slightly slower quarter. It's important to look beyond just the profit figure and consider all aspects of a company's performance.
So it's not always a straightforward win or loss. There are nuances to consider.
Exactly. Now on to Maybank, our biggest bank. Their profits edged up, but they're making slightly less profit from the interest they charge on loans.
Does this mean they might have to raise interest rates on loans or offer less attractive savings products?
It's a possibility. It's a trend we're seeing across the banking sector. And it reflects the delicate balance banks need to strike between attracting deposits and making profitable loans.
It's a reminder that even the giants like Maybank are navigating a complex financial environment.
Indeed. And speaking of navigating challenges, TM, our telecommunications giant, experienced a profit drop due to higher taxes this quarter. However, their broadband subscriber base is steadily growing, which shows they're still in a strong position.
It seems like they're investing heavily in upgrading their network, especially for 5G. While a higher tax bill is never welcome, this long-term investment could pay off in the future.
That's the key, looking at the long game. Now, before we delve into some intriguing property and political developments, let's take a quick pause. We'll be right back to continue our deep dive into the news that matters most to you.
Sounds good. Now let's turn our attention to the property market and some political developments that could impact your investments.
Yeah, it's a fascinating intersection, really. Politics and property often go hand in hand, with government decisions influencing the direction of the market.
Absolutely. For instance, the Penang Development Corporation recently rejected a RM 818 million bid to develop a large industrial park in Batu Kawan. What's intriguing is that the bid actually exceeded the reserve price, so the rejection seems a bit unusual.
It appears the state government might be looking beyond just the monetary value. This project has faced scrutiny in the past over transparency and land valuation concerns. It seems they're taking a cautious approach to ensure they're getting the best value for the people of Penang.
So it's not just about the highest bidder, it's about the bigger picture.
Exactly. Now, on a different note, there's a controversy brewing around Mara Inc., a government-linked company. They're under fire for purchasing properties in London and Melbourne back in 2013 and 2014 at prices that are now considered significantly inflated.
Oh, that raises some red flags. What's being done about it?
Well, the Public Accounts Committee is investigating the matter and calling for greater oversight of government-linked companies to prevent this kind of situation from happening again. They're pushing for stricter controls and mandatory approval from the Ministry of Finance for future investments.
It sounds like a much-needed step to ensure accountability and transparency.
Agreed. Now, shifting gears to a company reacting to recent policy changes. Kerjaya Prospect Property, a prominent developer, has stated that they don't expect the recent minimum wage hike to significantly impact their operations. However, they are actively looking to expand their land bank, especially in high-demand areas like the Klang Valley and Penang.
It's interesting that they're not overly concerned about the wage increase. It suggests they have a good handle on their cost management. And securing land in those prime locations is a smart move for future development.
It's a strategic play, especially given the limited availability of land in those areas.
Speaking of prime property, Eastern and Oriental BHD, a luxury developer known for their iconic projects in Penang, is aiming for a whopping RM1 billion in property sales this year. They're hoping the revamped Malaysia My Second Home program, which makes it easier for foreigners to live in Malaysia, will help them achieve this ambitious target.
It's a bold goal, but they do have a strong track record. The relaxed MM2H requirements could attract more foreign buyers, but the overall economic climate, both locally and globally, will play a role as well.
It's all interconnected, isn't it? Now, for some potentially good news for those aspiring to own a home. Rent-to-own schemes are being expanded to include a new government housing program called Residency Rakyat Program, set to launch next year. This could be a game changer for people who might struggle to secure a traditional mortgage.
This is a positive step towards addressing affordability challenges in the housing market. Rent-to-own programs provide an alternative pathway to homeownership. And it's encouraging to see the government expanding these options.
It's great to hear that more people might have a chance to achieve their dream of owning a home. Now let's shift our focus to the global stage, where some major political developments could have a significant impact on Malaysia. Donald Trump is back in the White House, and he's already making waves. He's threatened to impose new tariffs on goods imported from Canada, Mexico, and even China.
Yeah, this protectionist stance could create ripples throughout the global economy. And Malaysia, being a trade-dependent nation, could definitely feel the impact. Any disruption to global trade flows will affect us. Additionally, the US dollar has strengthened in response to this tariff talk, which puts pressure on our ringgit.
So it's a situation that warrants close attention. We'll need to watch how this unfolds and what steps the government might take to mitigate any potential negative effects.
Absolutely. Now for a quick update on the world of cryptocurrency. Bitcoin has been on a roller coaster ride. It briefly surged towards the US $100,000 mark before tumbling back down.
It seems even with Trump's known support for cryptocurrency, Bitcoin's volatility isn't going away anytime soon.
The crypto market is incredibly speculative and heavily influenced by news and sentiment. While Trump's stance might provide some support, regulatory uncertainty and the overall economic climate will continue to influence Bitcoin's price swings.
It's a high-risk, high-reward game for sure. And finally, some news that might make you cheer. A U.S. Senate panel is scrutinizing those annoying airline seat fees that we all love to hate. They're calling on airline executives to explain these ever-increasing charges.
This is an interesting example of government intervention in a market where consumers feel they're being nickel and dimed. It remains to be seen whether this will lead to any actual changes.
It's a glimmer of hope for travelers who are tired of being charged for every little thing. And before we wrap up, there's one more interesting development. Tesla, the electric car giant, has been excluded from a California proposal for EV buyer credits. Their cars won't qualify for these state-level rebates, which is a bit of a surprise.
This exclusion appears to be politically motivated. The California governor, who is seen as a potential presidential candidate, has been clashing with Elon Musk, Tesla's CEO and a prominent supporter of Trump. It seems Tesla's market dominance and Musk's political affiliations have made them a target.
Wow, it's amazing how politics can influence even seemingly unrelated areas like electric vehicle incentives.
Indeed. It's a reminder that the world of business and finance is never isolated from the broader political landscape.
So we've covered a lot of ground today, from the booming digital economy to company wins and losses, property market developments, and global political twists and turns. It's been a whirlwind tour of the forces shaping Malaysia's economic landscape. Yeah, it really makes you realize that staying informed is more important than ever. What news stood out to you the most today?
For me, it's that story about Malaysia's digital economy facing headwinds from greenflation. It really highlights the complex challenges we face as we transition to a more sustainable future. It's not just about embracing technology, but also understanding the economic implications and finding ways to mitigate potential cost increases for consumers.
Yeah, I agree. That tension between progress and affordability is something we'll likely see play out in various ways in the coming years. What's interesting is that while we discussed a range of specific companies and their performance, there's a common thread running through many of these stories.
Yes, the influence of government policies and decisions is undeniable, whether it's regulating digital platforms, managing property development deals, or responding to global trade tensions. The government plays a crucial role in shaping the economic landscape.
It's a good reminder that these seemingly distant political events and decisions can have a real impact on our daily lives, our investments, and even our future career choices. So what can our listeners do to stay ahead of the curve and make informed decisions?
Well, staying informed is key. Pay attention to the news, but don't just skim the headlines. Dig deeper, analyze the information, and consider the potential consequences. Ask questions, explore different perspectives, and don't be afraid to challenge assumptions.
It's about becoming an active participant in understanding how the world works, especially the economic forces at play.
Exactly. And remember, knowledge is power. The more you understand about the financial world, the better equipped you'll be to make smart choices for yourself and your family.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive for today. We hope you found these insights valuable. Make sure you subscribe to the Malaysia Money Matters podcast so you don't miss out on our next episode, where we'll continue to explore the news that matters most to you.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. If you would like a deeper dive into all the investment opportunities from today's news, subscribe to my newsletter at moneymatters.substack.com. I will be sharing a deeper analysis of the key investment opportunities from today's news, including what makes these opportunities stand out and how they fit into the broader market trends. By subscribing to the Malaysia Money Matters newsletter, you will also get exclusive insights on my watch list and portfolio and fundamental reports on Malaysian listed companies.